good.
I don't know. You got better pecs than me.
I don't know.
I mean, look at Big Phil. Big Phil.
Ahmed looks unsure.
No, Ahmed's body's
Phil
not
looks
good, so they were like, let's put him behind. And hide him. That's right, baby. What's up? It's episode 301 of Chris Sims Unbuttoned, presented by Under Armour. We got a Monday podcast. Ahmed Fareed is here. And, I mean, yeah, I know your body's good. It's all right. Don't worry. I mean, you weren't quite up to par with the rest of us, so we didn't want to show, your pecs and abs compared to us. Really.
So if you're just listening, we showed a picture. It was our 300th podcast.
Right.
Congratulations to us.
Yes.
And to you guys, too, for listening enough to where we can keep doing this.
Yeah, right.
But they showed a picture of us. What was that movie from?
300, right.
Okay, it's a movie.
Can you see that movie?
We all had our shirts off,
right.
and I was hiding behind you.
Right.
I had the look on my face as though I didn't know it was the day that we were taking our shirts off.
Right.
And so I didn't have my body prepared.
You had the look on your face where it was like 300. You're like, wait, there's 300 of us and we're going to fight how many of these guys?
Yeah.
You actually should see that movie.
Is it a good one?
It is a good movie. It's Sparta.
Okay.
It's not a long movie. It's very action-packed. It's like an old fable about how 300 Sparta soldiers, warriors, right? Stop this king from...
And I went to Sparta High
them.
School. I went to Sparta High School in Michigan.
Yeah,
so I should.
You should, in light of your school mascot and everything.
And side note, to inflate my own ego even more, I'm being inducted into the Sparta Notable Person Hall of Fame in November.
Wow. Hello, Sparta Notable Person. Nice to meet you.
Because I've done 300 of these podcasts now.
Wow. Yep. That's
or a
what
good
got
chunk
you.
of
That's
them.
what'll get you into the Hall of Fame at high school.
So this is 302. We've come I was thinking
you're
about
right, it is 302.
So it's 302
I forgot that
now.
one about Florio. I don't count his podcast.
This is 302 now.
Yeah.
This is pretty. Day one when we first started this. I didn't know you. You didn't know me.
Right.
We would have never thought we'd get to 300, right? I was like, this won't last.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I figured the way they had me signed up, I was like, nah, I think they got no choice. It's going to have to last for a while. But it is amazing how quickly it's all gone. And I still feel like it was yesterday where I was like butchering your name and so nervous to say it.
It was crazy.
Because I was like, I can't say this right. And it was all in my head. But here we are. And now we're talking ball. We're in a groove.
Now we're talking ball. We're in a groove. We got damn okay, self-scout thyself. Give me the headlines.
Yep.
We're going through every game from Sunday. It is our pledge to you guys. We start with the bigger games, the bigger stories that have more to talk about, and as we go, we get to the Detroit Lions. That's just the way it goes, and that's the way it will be from now until eternity. So let's get into it. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, our first game we're going to start with is Cowboys defeat the Patriots 35-29 in overtime. There's so much to talk about with this game. I mean, Dallas is just, I think... Let's start here. Of all the surprising teams, I think Arizona's up there. We'll talk about them pretty soon. But Dallas and the way that they have played, the way their defense has played, the way that Dak has played coming back from that gruesome injury.
100%.
I don't know. They might be the most surprising team in football.
I don't disagree with you there. I think it's one of the woe stories of the NFL season for sure. I mean, especially when you just look at it now 5-1 and you go, holy cow, they had a chance to upset the Bucs and beat them in that game in week 1.
Yeah,
definitely. And again, we didn't know what to expect from them at that point. But thoroughly impressed. Complimentary football, but when it goes back into it, I think the biggest thing you just look at it and the takeaway from the game yesterday is, of course, just their eliteness on the offensive side of the ball. And this is a conversation I've had a lot over the years, is just when you're elite at something, it forces a team to play a way they don't want to play. And, when you hear comments from Bill Belichick during the game going, if we don't win on first down, they're going to score 45 points on us. If they're in 2nd and 4 and 2nd and 5, which Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott are amazing at as far as getting their offense always in the right play, the right position. They're extremely patient with the run. That's where they're really, to me, a dangerous football team. They start off every game going, no, we're good up front. You're going to have to come down here and block and see if you can take on our run game. And then when we see you have some success doing that, then we'll start throwing the football and trying to dice you up that way. I mean, Dallas is just special that way. And really, the game 35-29, overtime, everything like that. I mean, hey, the Patriots made some plays early on, but that was one of those games where you looked up and you went, wait, New England's winning 14-7? Yep. New England's winning 14-10? Because, of course, it was Dallas. I looked at it more as Dallas mistakes.
For sure.
And letting New England hang in the game, especially early on.
Dak fumbled at the 1.
Right. They missed a fourth
interception in
and
the
one
end
in the
zone,
first series.
missed fourth down, and so
Right.
there were some missteps for Dallas.
Exactly
They could have
right.
scored even more here, and
Yeah.
yet they did score 35. And
That's
Dak
what's
Prescott threw for 445 yards, most ever versus a Bill Belichick Patriots team. So Justin Sanders says, how much credit does Kellen Moore get for the Cowboys' dominant offense? He is one of the better play callers, or is he one of the better play callers, or are the weapons just too much for defenses?
No, he's a really good play caller. I don't sit there and watch their games and go, oh my gosh, these are unbelievable concepts and ideas. But I sit there and go, like, okay, they got everything. I'm not always amazed with the creativity, but everything they do makes sense, and they tie it together. They have a lot of different ways to run the ball, and off of that, they have play-action passes that look similar to that. And then their drop-back pass game has everything you want, too. You know, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, I think it's one of the 5 most creative drop-back pass games in football. No, but it's up there. It's in that conversation. And then I think with the ability to run and the talent as to the question, that makes it that much more dangerous. Dak gets them in the right play every time. So they execute, they got talent, they got physical brutality up front to where they can really expose you that way. And I think that's what makes them so dangerous. You know, I said last week, hey, yeah, Kellen Moore, great. We know the weapons are great. To me, what Joe Philbin's doing with the offensive line, too, that's the thing that jumps out to me on a weekly basis. I watch them and go, man, that was cool how they blocked that run. Ooh, look at that. They pulled the backside guard and the backside tackle. Oh, they pulled both guards on this play. And then, of course, they can do inside-outside zone. So with that, they keep you tons of pressure, Ahmed, on the offensive side of the ball because you're always, oh, my gosh, what are we going to defend? It's runs, it's screens, it's tight end. You got to worry about the tight ends, the receivers, all that. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they force the issue, too. They do. They don't sit back and go, we'll die a slow death. You know, they've taken that approach of like, we're going to get our offense back on the field, and we're not going to give you anything. Yeah, we might make a mistake here and there, but nothing's going to be given to you, and I think that's what I respect about the Dallas Cowboys.
It does make it easier when you have an offense like that. You can feel like, all right, if we give up a big play, we give up a big play, which you were kind of vindicated in Trayvon Diggs when we talked about him last Monday.
That's what he does a little bit.
Because when you said he gives up a play as much as he makes a play, there are a lot of people in the comments. People get
who didn't like that. Right.
They're like, he doesn't give up. His numbers look pretty good. He hasn't given up that many big plays. We saw it on back-to-back plays late in the game where a huge interception.
Right.
Saw the route, was there, needed the tipped pass, but got it and made the play and scored the touchdown.
No doubt. Coverage is tight. I mean, he's there. It's a tough play to defend with the position he's put in. They ask him a lot of them. My point about him last weekend was not about to try to like downplay him to the listeners out there.
It was that he was not Deion Sanders
Exactly.
yet.
He's not Darrelle Revis, Deion Sanders, Aqib Talib, where you just go, oh, you put him on an island against anybody and it's shutdown time. No, he's not there yet. But still, phenomenal. I mean, what he's doing is absolutely insane.
Got beat on that 75-yard touchdown to Kendrick Bourne. It looked like he kind of tried to undercut the route, knowing he had safety help.
Exactly.
And so I don't know exactly
the safety
what
was really the problem. I know Trevon Diggs after the game took the high road and made like the right quotes.
He
like,
did.
It's my guy.
He did.
I should be there. But, you know, it is a double move. He was trailing, of course. I mean, gosh, he's covering a guy that runs 4.5 and knows where he's going, and he doesn't.
If Mac underthrows it a little bit, he's got another pick.
Oh, if Mac underthrows it, he's got a pick. And if the safety takes the right angle, again, I think if we put that into one of the better ball-hawking safeties in football, I'd go, well, 8 out of 10 are going to be interceptions right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a bad angle altogether. And I think where the double move happened, and it wasn't like it was way outside the numbers, right? It was kind of up the seam a little bit to where, you know, of course, he protected the boundary. The double move happened, and he's trailing, like you said. He's ready to undercut, and he's also thinking, wait, the ball's kind of towards the middle of the field. My safety should be there. But, yeah, that kind of sums him up a little bit. Pick six, let up a big play, but that's the way the Cowboys play, and I think it's the right approach that they do that on the defensive side of the ball, Ahmed.
And for as many things that went well for the Cowboys in this game, it really did, and I kind of circled this on my sheet. It all came down to the response after that Kendrick Bourne touchdown.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they needed to get a field goal there. They converted a 4th down, a great catch by Cedric Wilson, got him into long field goal range. Connor Williams with a holding penalty on sportsmanlike kind of pushed him back. But then right after that, Dak, 24 yards to CeeDee Lamb. So without 2 huge plays there in the passing game, they don't win this game. The Patriots do, which I think shows how close the Patriots are. I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate the Patriots right now. They're 2-4. They're in 2nd place in the AFC East. Congratulations to them, ahead of the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. They're in games, right? They almost beat Brady. They almost win this game. but they're ultimately not getting it done.
No, they're ultimately not getting it done. The one thing that I think is encouraging a little, did see some bigger plays from their team yesterday. They made some explosive plays where it wasn't, every drive was, like we've talked about, 12 plays, 75 yards, 16 plays, 68 yards. So that was refreshing. I mean, after, they had the first drive of the game, or am I got this right? Let's see. Or it was the first drive of the game was after the 4th and 1 stop, right? And that was 2 big runs right up the middle, ripped them off right away, and you went, oh, okay, well, watch out. Patriots O-line seems like they got it going a little bit. But, yeah, it's still too few and far between as far as just, consistency. We see guys running free at times, pass protection being blown. Of course, Mac Jones is not perfect at this point of his career. The blocked punt at one point. Yeah. Randy Gregory gets a strip sack fumble. So that's where, again, the Patriots are just not the same animal in the fact of, in those games they used to win it because you'd go, they are not really outplaying the team, but they didn't make a mistake, and the other team did. But they made their share of mistakes too, and that leads them to losing a close football game.
Which is why I was a little surprised, and we'll talk about going for 4th down, because I feel like that is. We did talk about it last week. I'm really interested in it.
Yeah.
We saw it in this game in overtime. Patriots had it 4th and 3 about midfield, and they punted it. And they never got the ball back, and they lost.
It's a tough decision.
It is tough. But Bill, it seems like, has been, in the past, ahead of the curve in kind of going for it and pushing the envelope and taking some risks. I was a little surprised with that.
Well, I think he's got a different offense. He's not dependable. He's a different quarterback.
Yeah.
I think he also looks at it and goes, yeah, our defense is good, but this is a special offense we're playing. Like, if we give them the ball here, it's like 1 first down or 2 first downs and the game's over. We're going to lose. So I had no problem with him punting the ball away there. I did not. I'm just trying to go back here. They were at the 46-yard line, right? Mm-hmm. Their own 46-yard line. They had a 4th and 3. Yeah, again, I think that's the right approach, especially when your offense is, again, through the day, a little bit all over the place. Yeah, we had a 3-play, 34-yard drive after the 4th and 1 miss by the Cowboys. Okay, great. Then, later in the quarter, they had a 4-play, 75-yard drive, and he had the pass to Hunter Henry for the touchdown. So you're going, well, okay, they're rolling some big plays in this game. This is pretty good. But then there was nothing until the 4th quarter. I mean, nothing. They didn't really have any consistent drives at all or anything of that nature, for a long time until a 4th quarter drive where they went on a 13-play, 75-yard drive. So, I think that's where that comes into play a little bit, him just knowing his team a little bit, and I'm certainly not going to second-guess that decision.
So last thing right here, Romo said at the end of the game on TV about the Joneses and how they've built this team.
Right.
They built a team that can win the whole thing.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I do. I do agree with that. Listen, like if they get to the Super Bowl, NFC Championship, they're not going to win games like 20-17. I don't think so, not with this defense. But I think you're going to see a game like a little similar to the score we saw yesterday. It's going to be more of like, hey, the old adage of like defense wins championship, that shit's gone. It's 2021. Get the fuck out of here with that crap. It doesn't matter anymore. If your defense is just middle of the road, that's fine. You can win championships with the way the rules are set up and how good these guys are on the offensive side of the ball. So, yes, with the way – and the other thing you have to take into account is even if their defense is overmatched, they have the ability to be like, oh, let's slow it down and run the ball if it ever came to that. I don't think they're ever going to play that way. But, hey, Dallas, the Bucks, the Cardinals, and the Rams, who didn't play good football for 2 quarters and everybody's forgotten about them as like the best team in football just because they lost to Arizona. Yeah. I mean, all 4 of them are phenomenal football teams. And in the conversation, I think, with Buffalo for, 5 best teams in football.
What were the 4 you said?
Rams, Bucks, Cowboys, Cardinals.
Okay, all right.
And of course, the Bills. I'm going to put the Bills as the number 1 team in football right now, but it's not by much over those guys there.
A team you left off that list that I was kind of surprised.
Who am I missing?
The Green Bay Packers.
Oh, the Green Bay Packers are right up there with it too. No doubt about it. Thank you for keeping me straight there.
And they beat the Bears 24-14.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers continues to own the Bears.
He fucking owns them.
He made it known.
Yes.
That's what he said.
Yes.
Right? I've owned you all my effing life. I own you. I still own
Say
you.
It. Quote the guy properly.
I will not do that. One day, I told this to Pete one time. One day what we'll do is we'll do a swear-a-thon, a curse-a-thon, where we'll raise enough money for a charity that we choose, a good cause.
Okay.
And at the end of that,
for every swear we give?
Yes. No, not for every swear.
Okay.
No, not for every
swear.
swear.
Because I'll be screwed.
I'm saying to get me to swear one time.
Okay.
It's like, what amount will get me to swear one time?
We'll
and then we'll donate
bidders.
that.
We'll have bidders. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I can stand behind
Kristen
that.
was thinking the same thing as you, that it would be as many as you could get in one podcast.
Right.
And she goes in my ear, she goes, don't.
Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
Please don't.
So we won't do that, but it will be to get me to swear one time.
Right. Kristen, if we do that, like, it'll be one of those things where we'll get the green light from NBC where you don't have to bleep the F words and all that.
Yeah, we'd clear it ahead of time.
Yeah. See, she's okay with that.
Yeah, we'll say Pete said
This
it
is
was
a good
okay.
cause.
We'll go, Pete said it was okay to not bleep it today.
Yeah.
And then
cause.
we'll put okay. That's a long beep right there. Just do that the whole way through.
You don't even know that movie either. That's
what is that?
It's the great movie. No, it's not. Oh,
it's not
old school. He does do it. It is. No, it is. He does do that with you, but it's also from the movie The Gigolo, with Rob Ryan.
Male Gigolo.
Deuce Bigelow.
Male Gigolo.
He has the woman with the condition who has like a
Tourette's. Right. Okay.
And she would throw out.
I think I do kind of remember.
You kind of remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so I was quoting a movie. I wasn't totally going down crazy.
Okay, so Kristen,
Phil.
you don't need to bleep that. He was
It was
quoting
a quote.
movie.
It's fine. It's totally ethical.
It's fine.
All right. Back to business.
Back to the Packers beating the Bears. Aaron Rodgers was good again. Do we have that? So here.
Oh, he was good again?
He owns them. 22-5, 57 career touchdown passes. 12 interceptions. Although I don't think that's that dissimilar than most teams he's probably played in his his career. I mean, he wasn't like Aaron Rodgers is winning this game. I think the bigger story here is that the run game controlled the game. And I was thinking about it. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch.
A very good.
I was like, who has a better one in the NFL? I was like, maybe Cleveland, right? When Hunt and Chubb are both playing.
Yeah. Let me see.
Like Dallas, maybe.
Dallas
Zeke
is
and
up
Pollard
there,
are
no
playing
doubt about
but
it.
I still might put
100%.
Jones and Dillon ahead of them. I was like Minnesota with Cook, but they don't really use Cook and Madison together.
They don't.
That
It's usually
much.
kind of one or the other. You're exactly right. I think the number one is still the guys in Cleveland, but
Sure.
I think you're right that this is probably.
You think this is 2?
No, it's 3. I'm still going to give Zeke and Pollard the edge there, but it's 3. I think as I sit here and just look at it, I think it's clearly number 3. I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss anybody.
So you give Aaron Rodgers the third best 1-2 punch of running backs in the NFL. That's a pretty good recipe.
Well, that's where they're dangerous. Like again, they don't force the issue with a whole lot. The Green Bay is totally into. Wait. There. It's somebody who's playing a strategic board game. It's like, hey, I'm doing what the game or the board tells me. Yep. I'm not trying to make up my own way here.
15 of 15 on passes of 10 or fewer air yards.
So he's just gonna go. Okay, fine. Chicago, you're gonna play too deep and put the pressure on your front to stop this front seven. All right, I'm not gonna be a stubborn asshole and try to throw 20-yard and 30-yard lasers into that. We got a good O-line. We're gonna run the football. And they're going to play it basic that way. And that's where every week I think I say with Green Bay, that's what I mean by their execution. They just never waste any plays or moments, nor they have a great feel. And where, in this game especially, hey, again, this is part of quarterbacking. I think he understood the big picture of the game. Their offense is not that great over there. Our defense is pretty good. Mm-hmm. I don't need to force the issue here early on in the game and let the Bears defense win the game and put us in some hole because I just got a little impatient because we went 3 and out the first 2 drives of the game. And then you go, I throw a stupid interception, and now you're going, damn, now we're down 14-0 to a good defense, and they know we're going to have to pass a little more. So I think he played the game the right way and was extremely patient that way. And then they find their groove and how they want to attack you and their list of plays of, if they're playing cover 2 and they're cover 4, all right, so let's go to this list of plays. And that's where they're special that way, let alone, as I'll say, and I say it again, like to your point with the running backs, they have a grit and toughness to me about them this year that I don't think they had the last 2 years. To me, they have a little bit of more of the just, you don't think we're going to be able to run it? We're going to run it still here. We can still do it. We're not going to just let you totally dictate to us at all times. Or we got to stop the run here in a big moment on the defensive side of the ball. They can do it that way too. But yeah, it wasn't sexy, but when your defense plays that way, and the Bears only had 2 drives the whole game. It was the first drive of the game, and then they had the drive in the fourth quarter, and that was it. I think he played it the right way against a very good Bears defense. It
is funny. Since 2008, the first year that Rodgers started, he has 11 wins at Soldier Field, the 3rd most of any quarterback, including Bears quarterbacks since 2008. Jay Cutler and Mitchell Trubisky, the only ones with more wins at Soldier Field as a quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about the new quarterback for the Bears, Justin Fields? I saw the highlights of this one, and they exclude the bad plays, of course, when you're watching even extended highlights. So I didn't see maybe some of the missed throws, but overall, that's a pretty fun quarterback to watch who does a lot of things really well, it
no
seems
doubt.
like.
I mean, we saw his ability to run a few times. He can buy some time.
Yep.
He got a little screwed over on one of the interceptions where might have been an offsides on Green Bay. Then he buys time. He throws that deep post down the middle of the field, and Darnell Savage intercepts it. And Allen Robinson kind of stopped on him. I don't think he knew, does he want me to pull up? Does he want me to keep going? Can he throw it that far? And, of course, he can. But I had no problem. Again, not that I broke that game down on film yet, but from what I saw on TV there yesterday, I didn't see egregiously missed throws or bad decisions for the most part.
Strong arm seems like already one of the better running quarterbacks in the NFL.
I'm already feeling, as far as all the quarterbacks in my rankings, that I'm the most wrong about him. I am. I know I made him 5 and 6 to begin with, and that's the one I'm looking at. He just, to me, he's light years ahead of Trey Lance right now. He's just not as raw. He knows how to play the position a little bit more rather than just being a great athlete who plays the position. And yeah, you see that, and that's what I like from him. And of course, he knows how to handle himself and do everything else the right way too.
So the Bears, they some good moments for them. They were in the game late until Rodgers ran in for that touchdown and then owned him again, 24-14, the final score. So you were kind of self-scouting yourself a little bit there on Justin Fields, which is why we like this show, and we like you. You have strong opinions held loosely, right? You have strong, and when you see other evidence that indicates maybe you need to change your mind, you do that.
Sure, and I mean, again, it's not apples to apples going from the NFL to college either.
Right.
And sometimes when you're in college and you're on a poor team, it's hard to evaluate how good you are. Sometimes when you're on a really dominant good team, it's hard to evaluate how good you are at times. And, I mean, hey, the biggest thing with him is he very rarely loses control of the football. And that was my biggest thing at Ohio State. When he really tried to throw his fastball, he'd lose control of it.
Sure.
It's like he's realized, wait, don't try to throw the fastball. Just be smooth and rhythmic, and my arm's plenty as strong. And it might only be 95% of my effort, but I throw a perfect spiral, and I know where the ball's going every time I do that. And I think he's learned that, and that's what's been really impressive to me.
All right, so let's continue the self-scout thyself.
Yeah.
Let's investigate this.
Let's do this.
Cardinals are legit.
Well,
they beat the Browns 37-14. We already knew that.
Yeah.
But, I think with them being the only undefeated team in the NFL, Cardinals fans haven't had this for a while, right?
Right.
So enjoy it. You got a great team, got a great defense, a great offense, but they want all the love. It's like, we want all of it now.
I understand it.
Give us all of it.
Yeah.
Power rankings, number 1. We're the only undefeated team, which I would say that's why you have the standings. You don't need the power rankings to reflect the standings because that's the same thing. That's neither here nor there because they are legitimately good. And who knows, maybe they will be number 1 in the power rankings here pretty soon because they go into Cleveland, get the win 37-14 without their coach. Hopefully he's doing better, without their play caller there. And they just dominated from the get-go.
Yeah.
Cleveland made a lot of mistakes. They got some injuries there. Baker Mayfield's kind of hurt. But, Chris, you predicted this, a comfortable Browns win, made it one of your best bets, and the Cardinals shocked not only you but a lot of other people out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. Again, I guess I'm still waiting to see the flaws. I thought maybe Cleveland could do some things to the Cardinals' offense to give them issues. Again, Cleveland's defense got a lot of talent. I have people on Cleveland who make fun of me sometimes, and I'm going to go, your team's one of the five best rosters in football, and you're 3-3. And they're still, people get on me there, and I want to be like, f*** off. And I picked you to go to the Super Bowl this year, so shut up. But I expected Cleveland's defense to match up with them a little bit better. And, of course, when I picked that game during the week, again, here, just self-scout the whole situation here, I did not know Nick Chubb was going to be out of the game, nor did I know that either tackle was going to be out of the game. That changed things a little bit, too. But I think, nonetheless, the same thing is what we saw. We saw a team from Arizona who can just go on spurts of making big plays, unlike any other team in football, in my opinion. Even to start the game, it's just, it's like they stop Cleveland on a fourth and short, right? I think that's how it went. Or they stop them on the first drive of the game, make a punt.
4th and 3.
Yep. And they just go right down the field and score in no time. where it break a big run. All of a sudden, it's a 3rd and 19. Kyler Murray escapes to the left and makes an unreal throw for a touchdown pass, and it's 7-0. And then Cleveland comes down, like you said, and they end up getting stopped on a 4th and 3, and Arizona, they're going to make a few big plays. Boom, they're going to go right back down the field and score one more time. And that's where they're special that way. And then I guess what I was most surprised, again, and listen, there was true issues with the fact that they didn't have their tackles. That was a real issue.
Sure.
Baker was under duress, and, of course, like, Jack Conklin is arguably one of the best run-blocking right tackles in football. Jedrick Wills is pretty good left tackle. So that hurt their football team. And, of course, Nick Chubb, I would call Nick Chubb the best running back in the game right now. It's either him or Derrick Henry. I guess Dalvin Cook right there in that conversation. But, man, I just was impressed with the amount of plays, again, that Arizona makes. And, like, I went back and kind of watched that game a little bit this morning just real quick. I mean, overwhelm the line of scrimmage. Their speed at times up front just causes such chaos that it's almost like they're like, wait, we want to block the play this way, but this guy shot this gap, and we don't know where this guy's going to be. And ultimately, they started to get Cleveland into a game that they don't want to be in, where they had to drop back and throw. And you're down 14-0. Now Baker holds the ball and scrambles, right? Fumbles. So now it goes 17-0. Good job by Cleveland's defense holding the field goal. They get the ball back. Baker throws a bad interception on the right side. They hold him to a field goal again to make it 20-0. But I guess my ultimate point is big plays, and this is where I messed up. Cleveland's defense, as talented as it is, it just still lets up too many big plays here and there to where it changes the outlook of the football game altogether.
Yeah, and you're going to give up big plays to Kyler Murray in that offense. I mean, that's just going to happen even if you got things buttoned up. But, yeah, it seems to be happening weekly with them. Anthony Rufo says, Chris, been a fan of yours since your Bleacher Report days. Self-scout themselves on the Cardinals. Every time we think it's going to be their first loss of the season, they find ways to win, and they do it in different ways every week with quality opponents. So, do you have their schedule up there?
Yeah.
How crazy is this going to get? Because they're 6-0 for the first time since 1974.
Right.
40 teams have started 6-0.
Yeah.
38 have made the playoffs. Ooh. So all but 2.
Yeah.
And the average finish to the season for all of them, 13-3.
I would be shocked at this point if they're not in the playoffs. I mean, I know they got a lot of work left, and they still got a lot of NFC West teams on their schedule. Okay, I expect them to beat the Texans. But Packers and 49ers again. Again, hey, the 49ers went toe-to-toe with them. That game was 10-7 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and there was no Jimmy Garoppolo and some issues there.
Colts, Cowboys at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they're
Rams.
There's definitely some still legit tests on the schedule here.
You can see 5 or 6 losses still in there.
But they're still a phenomenal football team, and I don't think anything's going to make me change the fact of they're a legit playoff football team right now. There's no doubt about that, and would be absolutely floored if it didn't come to that. They show abilities of big play, like we talked about, where they're different. Like in years past, is their ability to run the ball is a little bit better. They made a few mistakes. They had a few people missing in the game, but overall, just a really, really impressive football game by them. And, they kind of their defensive front whooped the crap out of Cleveland's offensive line. I think that was the shocker of the game.
Yeah, and even with that, there are some scenarios where you can see Cleveland maybe being in this game a little bit more. You say the missed 4th down, close in deep in the red zone.
Some questionable penalties.
Some penalties, some scrambles by Baker, fumbled a couple times. Bad overthrow interception where he just lost control of the ball.
Exactly right.
Early in the game. Cleveland did hit the Hail Mary just before halftime.
What horrible defense was that? That was horrible. You're literally allowed to pass interfere on those plays, and they didn't even touch the guy. They let it hit him right in the chest. I think that was what's unbelievable. Yeah. Hey, they did a good job of kind of fighting and clawing back into the football game. Got it to 23-14, if I remember this correctly, and there was a few, 3 and outs by each side, and, you're going, okay, man, can Cleveland put something together here? But then it was the 8-play, 54-yard drive that went up, made it 30-14, where you were like, uh-oh, they're in deep trouble. And did a turnover set up that drive? That's what I want to check real quick. I don't think so. That was the Baker Mayfield fumble where he hurt his shoulder, right? They're at the midfield. He's scrambling, trying to make a play happen. And Baker's a little He's become a little bit, when he gets outside of the pocket, I get nervous because he seems to lose sight of who's around him. And, I mean, we saw that yesterday with both fumbles. It was kind of like he forgot that people were pursuing him.
They did both look similar, didn't
they?
Kind
of got him that way, no doubt.
All right, so Cleveland goes down. Cardinals are looking good. You're right. Defensively, I mean, I'm looking at some of the numbers here. Second in turnover margin, third and third down efficiency, fifth in sack, first and forced fumbles.
Right. I mean, they can match up with any defensive scheme. The one thing I've questioned is just they have enough big people to stop the run, but the 49ers, they did a decent job last week. Of course, yesterday against Cleveland, which I know the tackles weren't there and no Nick Chubb. I still value that running game and the way that they play that way. But also, it's once they get you into some situations, Vance Joseph, he's really creative. And they'll force the issue a little bit. Like, that might be the new theme in football. It's like force the issue. It really is, where it's like, it's a rundown. We're going to put a bunch of people at the line of scrimmage. Okay, you might get a 15-yard completion behind us, but we're going to play man-to-man. You're going to have to throw it in there, and you have to block it up the right way. Right. I thought they played some really tight coverage at times and kind of overwhelmed the running game with just sheer numbers in the box.
Forcing the issue is something that you wanted the Chiefs to do a couple years ago, and they did it. Got them all the way to the Super Bowl and a victory. The defense not as good this year, although maybe took a step in the right direction last game against Washington.
100%.
31-13, the final score last time when you were breaking down some of the defensive errors on what the F happened Wednesday about that Chiefs defense. You're like, I don't know if it's fixable. Now, Washington doesn't have the most explosive offense out there, but they put up some points on some teams out there.
I wouldn't expect them to pitch a 13-point shutout on the defensive side of the ball.
So Orion Chuzzlewit, a common commenter here on PFT and on this podcast, said, "Can I get a damn okay for the Chiefs' sucky, ducky defense?"
Yeah, I like it,
Only
Orion.
one busted coverage all game and a shutout in the second half.
That's right.
Versus the football team.
Yeah.
Did you like what you saw?
Oh, well, 100%. And I went back and kind of already watched this a little bit this morning, just like I did Arizona. And, I'm sorry, with the Arizona-Cleveland game there, I feel like I bumbled too much. See, that's what happens when I have too many thoughts in my head. And if I seemed incoherent there, I had too many thoughts, and I don't think I ever got to a concise thought.
If people didn't understand, just go back and listen to it again.
Yeah.
That's what we encourage people to do.
I hope I explained that game the right way.
Rewind.
Arizona's really good, either way. But here's what I looked at in the game and the biggest takeaway. And I watched this game pretty closely, of course, live yesterday. I was keeping my eye on it. He's right. There was only one blown coverage. It was a trick play. The 39-yard touchdown pass to Ricky Seals-Jones, right?
Yeah.
It was a little fake wide receiver screen, and they went up the seam. And I don't know exactly what Kansas City did to mess the coverage up, but they messed it up regardless, and he was wide open.
Which was just before the half. And this game on the scoreboard looked close for most of the game.
Please, set that up.
It was not close.
It really was not. I mean, again, I'll get to the defense in a second, but you're exactly right. Hey, the key to the Kansas City Chiefs and what made them great for so long was the fact that they jump out on you early. Looked like they were going to do yesterday. You're going, they're going to be up 14-0, and that's when they became dangerous. They get you down 14 or 17-0, and then you had to err on the pass game, and now Steve Spagnuolo knows that, and he can be creative and do a lot of different things just in the pass defense. The Chiefs' offense has not been able to execute good enough early on in football games to ever put teams in that position to this point, and didn't do that yesterday. But here's what changed with the Chiefs' defense. I just talked about Arizona forcing the issue, right? How they put people. That to me was the number one thing, and I'm 100% correct with what I saw on this one. I know that for sure. When I just watched the game back real quick this morning, it was a lot of people at the line of scrimmage. I think they kind of said, "Screw our 4-man rushes, and we'll try to do creative coverages. We're going to send 5 and send 6 and play man behind it and try to expose your pass protections that way." And that, to me, was the biggest difference in the game, or the biggest difference in the way they played altogether. A lot of creative blitzes. Pete, I don't know if you can look that up, but I would bet that there was more blitzes from Kansas City in this game than any other game we saw all year. I'm just going by my naked eye there. I have no idea if that's going to be correct. But I would think so. And within that, and the people at the line of scrimmage, it helped them contain the run game. And, what sometimes blitzing and forcing the issue does, of course, you don't die a slow death like we talk about, and you don't want your Chiefs offense to be off the field. But the other thing, too, is when you blitz and pressure, and if you have a good feel for the offense, you sometimes can know what their answers are going to be. When we're a blitz team, they like to throw screens to the receiver. Or, when you blitz these two guys, they like to throw hot to this guy. And if you can coach it right in the background, right, and be like, hey, secondary, when we blitz this, be ready. They're going to try to throw it high. Then they can rally and tackle. And even though you blitzed and took a chance, you might only give up a 4-yard gain because you kind of knew what their answer was to that. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, and I think that's what I saw a little bit yesterday. And I'll be looking to see if this is going to be the new theme for them going forward.
And maybe it was a different grouping of players on the field, too. Dre all two says, damn okay, Chiefs defense. Juan Thornhill in for Daniel Sorensen made an immediate impact.
100%.
And L'Jarius Sneed and Rashad Fenton also played well alongside Tyrann Mathieu.
Yes, they did. Well, hey, L'Jarius Sneed and Fenton were the guys last year who played really well. Somehow they got supplanted a little bit earlier this year, but they went back to those guys. They did look like they played good. So, Sorensen's been an issue for the Chiefs on defense, so that's why they started Juan Thornhill over him. Thornhill's a phenomenal athlete. He's phenomenal. I mean, he really is. He's got, true one of the fastest guy on the field type speed. And, hey, overall, it was the first game all year that I watched and I went, Kansas City's defensive line won the battle. Even when they didn't blitz they pushed Washington back. They won some of those battles where I've been saying, I don't know who's going to do anything up there. They keep getting their ass kicked. So it was a big win. And Kansas City's offense looked really good yesterday in a lot of ways. It's just, again, drop pass in your hands, interception on the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
McCole Hardman reverse for 18 yards, fumble. Patrick Mahomes fumbling the snap down in, the red zone and then trying to throw. I don't know what he was trying to throw. There was nobody downfield. It was only Kelsey down there. It was a run play.
That was that was Jameis Winston-esque.
That was.
And Jameis does a lot of good things.
Yes,
I know, but
I think you said it right. You're right.
But you watch that play and you're like, I can see Jameis doing something.
But to your point, you never got the sense yesterday watching that game that the Chiefs' offense was going to be stopped.
They won by 18. They could have won by 30, I think. Chiefs Out West says this, though, in watching the game. Mahomes looked perfectly fine running around, making plays with his feet and off schedule. You have to ask Chris what he's talking about when he says that Mahomes doesn't look 100% because I don't see it.
Yeah, well,
he did run around okay in this game.
He ran okay. He's run okay on every game. He's run okay in every game. All I'm trying to say is there's been a gear missing. And you know what? Yesterday, I'm not going to lie, he did look a little bit better to me.
Yeah.
But, also to our listener, the numbers will also tell you. And again, I'm not about the numbers, but I'm about the numbers when a guy was overwhelmingly the best quarterback in football outside the pocket for the last 3 years. It was don't let him outside the pocket or you're going to lose. To now he's one of the worst in football outside the pocket. One of the worst through the first 5 weeks. I'm sure yesterday I might have corrected that to a degree. So there is something there. You can say what you want. And I've had people reach out to me to tell me that I'm on to something. I think I said this to you last week, that he is not 100% down there. They're not going to let it be known. That's not going to be a report from insiders. They're trying to keep that stuff quiet. But either way, he was phenomenal. He threw the ball absolutely amazing yesterday.
He looked really good. And maybe, who knows, maybe whatever has hampered his mobility is going to get better.
Well, I used to argue this with Rodgers a little bit. When you got to sometimes carry the team to such an extent, it makes bad habits too, okay? And that's, to me, where it's all gone wrong a little for him this year. Not that it's been bad. Again, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, and he's thrown, 8 interceptions, and I don't give a shit. He's still one of the best players in football, if not the best still. I don't care. I'm not, over-judging the stats, and he's still an MVP contender for me because I think they're going to rip off some wins here at some point and get back in the mix of things. But I used to argue this with Rodgers a little bit in his heyday with Green Bay because it was all so much on him at times that it caused other bad habits in him because, hey, offense is not good, running game is not good, I got to make the play. And then he would maybe turn down a 5-yard easy completion because he's like, that's not going to get us back in the game or get us going. Let me buy some time and hop around, and I'll find a 30-yard play, and that'll jumpstart us. Mahomes last year was not protected for the last 10 weeks of the season. The last 10 weeks. I mean, not at all. Go back and watch the Dolphins game, the Saints game. It is pressure the whole game. And he got him into the habit of always moving in the pocket and always floating backwards. And that led him to some bad stuff this year, I think, to where he was missing the first read. And you've heard me talk about staying in the pocket and being true to the progressions. Yeah, he wasn't playing the position true to form that way. And I think he's gotten back on track here the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Offense is certainly scoring points. They are the 6th team in the Super Bowl era to average 30 points a game, but not have a winning record.
Yeah,
so only 5 other teams have ever done that through 6 games, and only one of those previous 5 teams has made the playoffs.
Hold on. Okay, so that's a good one. So we're saying
through 6 games,
30 points,
average 30 points a game, but we're not
above 500.
We're not above 500.
Not above 500. And you're saying of those 6 teams, only
there were
one?
5 previous teams, only one made the playoffs.
Okay, and you know the one?
I know the one.
Okay, it's this century.
This century. It's within the last 10 years.
It's within the last 10 years. Hold on, I'm just going to look at teams here. I just want to look at some teams. So, 30-plus points. 30-plus points. Who would that be here in the last 10 years? Man. And they made the conference championship game, you said?
They were the one team. That's what Pete just said in your ear. He gave you a hint.
Yeah, okay. They made the conference championship game.
It's a team that you had some intimate knowledge with.
Just tell me.
The 2012 New England Patriots.
The 2012 New England Patriots.
When were you with them? You were with them?
I was there that year.
That was your year.
Yes. Yeah. So is that right? We started.
So you started?
I don't even remember us.
3-3. Started 3-3.
Wow. Holy cow. I mean, I completely forgot that. Who were the 3 losses to early in that year?
Cardinals at home.
Yeah, right.
Ravens.
Yeah.
On the Sunday Night Football game, and then at the Seahawks.
At the Seahawks.
So
that was the UMad Bro game. Exactly right. Okay.
So here's the thing. Are the Chiefs going to join the Patriots as another team to make the playoffs? A little easier now. You get an extra playoff
but
team.
I still think
you get an extra game.
Yeah.
Seems like they should make the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I do think they're going to get the defense right to a point, hopefully, to where at least it's just, slightly below average. And I just have too much faith in the offense and Patrick Mahomes to think that they'll play the right way. I don't know if that's going to lead to a Super Bowl, but either way, like you said, it's extremely explosive on that side of the ball.
Speaking of explosive offenses, the Chargers have shown to be a very explosive offense this season, except against the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. 34-6. You, along with many other people, predicted a Chargers win. The Ravens' running game was awesome in this one. And it wasn't just Lamar. They rushed for 187 yards as a team. You see, he had 51 of those, but Devontae Freeman had 53, Latavius Murray 44, Le'Veon Bell had 18. It's like a who's who of like guys who used to be impactful on my fantasy team.
I know. I mean, and listen, they're good, but they're not as good as the guys that they have that are hurt. I'll just say that right off the bat. I mean, they watch out if they had some of those guys, But I think that's where I'm mad at myself for the pick of that game in general. I don't know why. Really, I got into a little bit like Baltimore hasn't run the ball that well lately. And maybe the Chargers, with the speed of their front, can create some chaos, kind of like the Colts did in the first game of the year. But that wasn't the case. I mean, listen, there's no other way to say it. It was a complete ass-whooping up front. I mean, that's what it was. They did whatever they wanted the first few drives of the game. I mean, it just was like 7 yards here, 8 yards here, 6 yards off tackle, 5 yards right up the middle, 8 yards on the edge. It was almost unstoppable that way. And what I am excited to see is just what they did on the defensive side of the ball. I am. Again, it looked like they basically put the pressure on their front, early on and just said, hey, we're going to play some 2 deeps and maybe being a 5-man pressure, but we're going to play 2 deep behind it. And they trusted their front to stop the run, but they weren't going to let up some big plays in the pass game. And then they got the Chargers into a game of like, whoa, we're down 14-0. We got to throw the ball. We now got to go to a 4th down. Whoa, we're down 17-0. Screw the run game. And once you do that with Baltimore, it's tough because Wink Martindale and them, they're just too well coached and too creative on that side of the ball, and that's where they really stymied the Chargers.
Spence Nice, 103. Does Chris finally buy into the Ravens after pure domination by the defense over the Chargers offense?
I guess I do. Yeah, I do. That might be the
They look like a
final
playoff
piece.
team to you.
Yeah, I mean, of course they've looked like a playoff team. I just didn't know how
Kind
good
of,
of
but
a playoff
I mean, like
team.
no
Right.
playoff team barely beats the Lions
Everybody.
with an NFL record
I
field
get you.
goal.
I know. There's been, I mean, again, I would argue last week's game against the Colts was a halfway miracle to winning that football game. There's been a few of those this year, but that was by far their most dominant game of the year.
It's probably the most dominated that the Chargers will be all year. Right?
It
Like
will.
that-
I would.
they're not
probably,
gonna look that
I would
bad.
probably echo those sentiments. You're right. I mean, it's hard to hold that group in check, and of course then they got into some of the fourth downs, and hey, the Ravens did a good job. They made sure they matched up Marlon Humphreys with like the single receiver to the left side, and that's going to be a tough matchup. Again, you're used to winning that. Oh, that's Mike Williams over there. It's 4th and 6. No problem. Our quarterback's great, and he's great. But that changes when it's a guy like Marlon Humphrey. He's just as great as your corner. And I know he made 2 great stops, I thought, just in some man-to-man coverage where they put a lot of pressure on him. But that was a pretty awesome win by the Baltimore Ravens.
Andraj Stowan says, "Hey, Chris, can you talk about Lamar's throwing delivery at the moment? It looks like to me that he's changed it and throwing more accurately." Love the podcast.
He is definitely more accurate. And one of the things I've talked about on the past pods is just it's to me it's not necessarily the motion itself up top. It's the fact that he has his legs in the right spot. And if you watch, I mean, again, his legs are always underneath his shoulders. He used to get in a little bit of that habit where his feet would get together, and then he would have like a little bit of a long stride to throw the football. Well, when you add more moving parts, things are going to move, and then you're not necessarily going to slot the ball perfectly all at the same time. You talk to any really good quarterbacks, Rodgers, Brady, Drew Brees, they're going to tell you that if your feet in a good space or in a good spot and always underneath you and got the power underneath you, it's going to lead to a smooth delivery up top as well. And I think that's the biggest thing I noticed. I did a little thing last week on PFT just showing it because we were going through some highlights, and I go, look at him hopping in the pocket. He was like a boxer, just moving around. Feet were in the perfect place, and I don't want to, here we got a little shot here, but feet are always here. He used to get into this position and then stride and throw. Now he's always here no matter where he goes, and that to me is the biggest difference in his throwing this year as compared to years past.
Yeah, they look good. That was a convincing victory over the Chargers, a team that continues to go for it on 4th down. And I just want to make this note here. Midway through the 3rd, they were down 24-6. Brandon Staley on his own 19 goes for it on 4th and 1. They did not get it.
Yeah.
But looking at
That's
that,
all right.
But looking
You're
at
going
that,
to lose if you don't do something.
even if you don't get that, right?
Yeah.
It's still helping your offensive output in theory because you're getting the ball back quicker. It's like their drive's not going to be as long. And so even with that, they still only scored 6 points, which tells me it didn't matter what they did. They might as well have gone for every 4th down because their offense just was not clicking to a point where it was ever going to even matter.
They had to force the issue. That's exactly right. And I think, to that point, too, this is where Staley, I think, is a little, he's looking at, too, going, wait, okay, it was 24-6, right? You said at that point?
They were down 18 at the time.
So he's going, okay, we're going to go for it because we're in trouble here and we're not playing good. Let me see if we can, get a few first downs, maybe rest my defense a little bit, get in a rhythm as an offense and start doing something. But at the very least, he's going, okay, if we don't make it, hopefully we can hold them a field goal. And what's really changed? We're still 3 scores down. And that's what happened.
Yep.
So he ends up being, okay, we're 18 down, now we're 21 down. Whoop-de-doo.
Exactly.
And so there's a calculated, aspect to it that makes sense. And that's where he's, been very good all year long. It's just they ran into a buzzsaw yesterday with the Ravens.
Which brings me to the next game, and a little bit of game theory in this one, too, before we get into some of the real issues with the Carolina Panthers. This is the Panthers and the Vikings. The Vikings took the lead after a blocked punt with a couple quick touchdowns within a minute. But then this game came down to the end, and give the Carolina offense credit for the first time waking up late in this game. But I had a debate with my dad.
Yeah.
We were watching this game together.
Right.
And Carolina had the ball. They were down 11 late in the game.
Right.
And instead of going for it on 4th and goal, the first 3 plays didn't look great, and so they kicked a field goal on 4th and goal.
Yeah.
They kicked the field goal. They made it, and they were down 8.
Yeah.
And I went back and forth with my dad, and my dad was like, that's the right call. Now it's an 8-point game. You can tie it with a touchdown and 2-point conversion.
Right.
But I was just in thinking about that decision, in the broader context of how the NFL thinks now, I was like, okay, you kick that there. What are you saying? So then everything from this point forward has to go right. You have to make that field goal. You have to get a stop. You have to then go down, score a touchdown.
Yeah.
You have to then get the 2-point conversion.
Right.
And then you have to prevent Minnesota from scoring in the remaining time left, which Minnesota got in field goal range and missed a field goal. And after all that, if all that goes right, you still have to win the game in overtime. I was like, all that has to go right. And so it became clear to me in thinking about it that when you're down big late in the game, you need to do everything to try to win the game in regulation. Playing for overtime almost seems like a losing deal, because if you're playing for overtime, you're playing for a coin flip that you may lose anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know. I think that's the way a lot of coaches are thinking now. If you're down big late, go for the win in regulation.
There does seem to be that aspect. There's no doubt. It's just, it's a hard thing there for a coach. I would have done what Matt Rule did. I think I do. I would have played that percentage there. Again, they were severely outplayed yesterday. Severely. Like, worse outplayed, like what they did to the Eagles last week, and they still lost that game. They severely outplayed the Eagles and lost. They severely were outplayed by the Vikings, had no business even being in overtime of that football game.
571 yards of offense for the Vikings, third most in franchise history.
Listen, the Carolina Panthers did not do shit the whole freaking game, other than the last 2 drives of the game, basically. More than half their yards of the game came on the last 2 drives. They just were incapable. Sam Darnold wasn't good. He made bad decisions. Yeah, they dropped some passes for sure. I'll go back to what I said on my Wednesday What the Happened podcast. I see defenses getting a really good feel for Joe Brady and his offense. I do. I see plays where I go, I've seen this play 12 times already this year. I've seen this play 3 times this game already. Like, Zimmer was all over their stuff. There was a play, there were even some of the plays where they show the drops of the receivers or Chuba Hubbard. I want to go, yeah, he's going to catch it. He's going to get his head knocked off. Like, okay, he should have caught it, but like, they were all over it. So there's a little bit of everything going on there. Sam Darnold not playing well, missing Christian McCaffrey, sure, the drops, and defense is getting a good feel for how Joe Brady is attacking here in year 2. And that's what I'm going to be watching going forward, let alone, I think the shock of the day to me was that the Vikings ran the ball the way they did on that Carolina Panthers front. I didn't expect that. And once they start doing that, like, good night, it's over. Because once they start doing that, Kirk Cousins, his aggressive frame of mind off those play-action passes into Thielen and Jefferson, it's unbelievable the way he throws the ball that way. Into tight windows, aggressively down the field. It was impressive, and, yeah, they should have won that game before overtime, that's for sure.
Vikes 90-90, how about Kirk Cousins and Clint Kubiak lighting up the number 2 defense in the NFL? And now we have to – I wasn't planning on this at all this year.
Right.
I wasn't planning on having to think about the Vikings as a serious playoff contender. I really wasn't, for whatever reason. I don't know. I just dismissed them.
Well,
do we have to change our thinking
I
now?
think we do, yeah. I mean, they're going to be in this conversation, I think. That's what we got to get used to. Not to say I'm going to go, they're going to make the playoffs, but with the way they run the football, as explosive as they are with Thielen and Jefferson in the pass game, and then, the defense is solid. Like, right, let me just see. Like, where's Minnesota's defense? Middle of football. There you go. They're the 16th in football. That's where I would have been expected. Yeah, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be one of these teams all year long that we're going to be talking about. Are they going to be a 6 or 7 seed in the playoffs? And it's going to see how it just shakes out in December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're in the conversation, and I'm mad at Carolina because Carolina was your sleeper team, my sleeper team, Pete's sleeper team, and we're feeling so good after that 3-0 start, and now they're disappointing us.
No, disappointing, and just sloppy play, really. I mean, not a sloppy play, but Sam Darnold, like I tried to say last week, Sam Darnold was not as good as everybody thought when they were 3-0, and last week and this week were bad. The Dallas game was not bad. It was okay. Yeah, he made a few mistakes. The team made some mistakes to go along with it. But the last 2 weeks have me a little concerned about the offense for sure. Just the way it looked, the way it looked on replays with where defenders were, it just seems to me like not only is he not playing good, but teams have a good feel for the attack on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Gould99 said Panthers offense struggling. Opposing defenses are all over Joe Brady's play calling.
There you
Darnold
go.
without
Right.
the ultimate check down, and McCaffrey looks like he's still playing for the Jets.
Yeah, well, and to me, this has always been an issue with Darnold. Darnold in the pocket is his biggest issue. He's a little bit, always wants to get out and make it USC versus Penn State in the Rose Bowl, and I want to scramble all the time. And that, to me, was one of the things I did not like about him coming out in the draft, was the fact that it was that all the time. Anybody go back and watch, my big question about Sam Darnold was always, can he make throws and plays in the pocket consistently? And I've been a defender of him, as you know, but I think that question is still fair as we sit here, going into Week 7 now.
All right, questions for the Panthers, questions for the Vikings, but the Vikings on the upward trajectory with that overtime victory over Carolina in a game where they outplayed them significantly. We're going to get into our Sunday night football game, Seattle versus Pittsburgh, here in just 1 second. But first, we want to give some love to our sponsor, Under Armour. It's time for the live read, Chris. This is where we're put to the test on the spot, and it's how well can you read words that are in front of you, for you and for me. Sometimes a challenge for both of us.
We'll see.
So we are supported by Under Armour, and just like Chris and myself, Under Armour wants to give you an edge, Chris.
They are focused on performing better and taking their game to the next level, just like me and Ahmed.
Everything from running shoes that propel you forward to hoop shoes that give you insane grip. They even make hoodies that reflect energy. Now, this is going so well so far.
Yeah.
Don't screw this up, Chris.
I won't. Okay, don't worry. I won't do that. We're not just about the end result, Ahmed. We're winning or glory. It's
Right.
not always about winning or glory.
True.
Under Armour is about the hard work,
Good.
the dedication, the cycle of training, competing, and recovering. That's what you and I do to prepare for this podcast week after week.
It's a lot of drinking water after I'm done. And energy drinks, honestly.
Of
That's how
course,
I get
right.
back
I'm
to
coffeeed
100%.
up right now.
We give you the advantages, but not the shortcuts. The only way
Is through.
is through. Pretty good.
Pretty
I think
good?
we topped ourselves from last time, right?
Boom.
Pete, good. Okay. Clip that one out. Improvement. As long as we improve every week.
Yeah.
But we do
That's
give
what
love
we do.
to.
We self-scouted thyself, and we came back with a better game plan.
I've been wearing my Steph Currys around all the time that they have given me. They have insane grip.
And mine are coming in the mail, I've
Pete
been
says
told.
they're in the mail. Ooh,
Yeah.
but that's like what everyone says, right? It's in the mail. Checks
Yeah.
in the mail.
Yeah, checks in the mail.
That means this might not be, though. We trust them, though, because they've been good to us so far, except not Chris on the Curry so far. Now it's time for Damn OK, presented by Under Armour.
Damn. I'm okay. Damn. I'm okay. Yeah, no, I mean, yes. I'm okay. The legal gambleizing. Oh, baby. I am Chris Sims. I'm okay. Damn. I'm okay.
And it is a damn okay in our Sunday night football game for the Steelers' T.J. Watt. He's back. He's healthy. 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 passes defended, and the game-winning forced fumble on Geno Smith. It made Geno just lay on the ground with his hands over his helmet and his eyes in distress because T.J. Watt did it again, and he won the game for Pittsburgh late.
No doubt about it. I mean, it just showed up right at the right times, right? I mean, yeah, the big sack, of course, and, of course, the strip sack in an overtime, phenomenal. Hey, he's being paid that money for a reason. I mean, he's that guy that makes those type of plays really almost weekly. And if he doesn't make it weekly, it's like you go back and watch the film and go, oh, he was so close 2 or 3 times to making it happen weekly. I mean, that's really what it is. A lot of things to talk about at this game. I mean, really. I mean, a lot of stuff to talk about. You know, first off, hey, we saw Pittsburgh's defense, how dominant it was in the first half. I do think the Seahawks were a little bit overly conservative. There's no doubt about that. I think the Seahawks took the approach of, hey, offense, we're not going to screw the game up. We think our defense can maybe cause Big Ben to create, a few turnovers and do that. They took that approach, I think, early on. But the Steelers' defense just overwhelmed the Seahawks in the first half. Then you talk about the offense in the first half. I thought Big Ben in the first half might have been one of his best halves of football the whole year. And what I mean by that, just clean. Like, he knew where he was going the ball. He made the right decisions. Seattle played a lot of crowding the line of scrimmage defensive alignments in the first half to where they were basically like, no, you're not going to run the ball and do what you did to Denver last week and then make life easy. We're going to see if Big Ben can handle some pressure and throw the ball the right way. And I thought Pittsburgh's attack off of that for what the defense was telling them to do, because, again, Seattle will bring some crazy blitzes. And the one thing we know about Big Ben right now is when he holds the ball and there's blitzes and he starts to think he's Big Ben from 10 years ago, and I tried to say this on Football Night in America last night, that's when it's strip sack fumble. Just like you saw on the fumble at the end of the game. When he starts pump faking and shit, it's almost like 9 out of 10 times things are going to go bad right now. And so they were smart, and I think just calling like, hey, let's get the ball out of his hands. Let's not let Big Ben hold the ball and maybe do something crazy that way. And I thought the first half was really, really well played. Second half was like flip of the coin. Total different story. Seattle started to play, wait, we don't think you can run the ball on us when we play pass defense. So they started to play more like base pass coverages. And Pittsburgh didn't show the ability to really be able to run the ball and move around just a normal front seven or front six look, right? So that was one thing. And then, of course, what Seattle did run the ball in the second half. I mean, the first drive of the game, the first drive of the second half, what was it? 6 plays, 60 yards, and I think 5 of them were runs, if I'm right. And 5 of them, it's just right up the middle. Just here, we're going this way, and you're not going to be able to stop us. And I was shocked by that.
So you think, with the adjustment that Seattle made on defense and then running the ball on offense, you think that if they play that game again, Seattle's like, why don't we just do that the whole game?
I think they might give them some more guts to play a little bit of a different style. Yeah. I think that they're, early on, they're trying to crowd the line of scrimmage. They like to, okay, we might blitz or we might drop out. Either way, but we're going to scare you out of the numbers game and the run game. But, yeah, I think there would be a little bit of a different approach. And what we saw in the second half is what scares me a little bit about Pittsburgh is not a lot of depth on their defense. And I think they got worn down a little bit. So now you run the ball on them, and I just want to get this right for context for everybody, okay? So I'm going to just look at this little play-by-play thing here where they get the ball. You're talking the first drive of the second half?
The
second half. Okay. Here we go. It's Alex Collins, right tackle, 5 yards. Alex Collins, right guard, 11 yards. Alex Collins, right tackle, 21 yards. Geno Smith, short right to Metcalf for 9 yards. DJ Dallas, 5 yards up the middle, up the right guard. Alex Collins, right tackle, 7 yards. Then it's 7 more yards off the right guard. And then it's right up the middle for 5 yards with a penalty and unnecessary roughness. And then it's Alex Collins off the right guard for no gain. And then it was Alex Collins up the middle for a 2-yard touchdown.
That was more than 6 plays.
It was. I don't know where I got 6 plays from. It was 10 plays, and 9 of them were runs.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that just says it. Pittsburgh goes, I think 6 and out, basically. Or no, Pittsburgh went down and got the field goal. I'm wrong about that. Sorry. And then the next drive was Pittsburgh overcommitting to stopping the run, and they hit 3 play-action passes, basically, off of that, and got them in kind of a rhythm, and that game became a ball game from that point on.
It's one of those games where Pittsburgh won, and they were really hammering the ball out of the hands of the. Give them credit for that. Yeah, that's obviously something they've coached.
No doubt.
TJ Watt did it, which won them the game, but they had one at the end of regulation.
Had 2
on
in the last 2 plays.
They
DJ
did.
Dallas, then DK Metcalf.
I know. They were doing that a ton.
Right.
But I don't know how much we really did learn about the Steelers after this game. They're 3-3 now. They beat a Seattle team without Russell Wilson. Didn't do it by a whole lot. How much did we really learn? How much has our opinion changed of Pittsburgh?
It hasn't a whole lot. It just, to me, where I'll say with Pittsburgh, and I just think the point itself is just if the offense doesn't screw it up and they just kind of play clean, they don't need to be pretty.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough to beat them. I don't care who you are, And Seattle had their way with them a little bit in the second half, certainly, but no Tyson Alualu, no Stephon Tuitt. He wasn't in the lineup. So those are 2 big difference makers there for them on the defensive side of the ball, where I don't think if they're at full strength, you're going to run the ball down their throat a whole lot. But yeah, there's still questions in Pittsburgh.
There are.
Defense is dominant. I do question the depth up front, like we saw last night. Offense, we just want them to run the ball, and they want to run the ball and get Big Ben wants to get a one-on-one with Deontay and Claypool. and just go like that. That's what they want to do. And if he can just play clean and take care of the football, they're going to be tough to stop, though. They'll be tough to beat, I should say.
And then let T.J. Watt just take over on the defensive side, which he did at the end of the game, getting the damn okay. And also getting a damn okay, another guy on the defensive side, Maxx Crosby for the Raiders as they beat the Broncos 34-24. 3 sacks for Crosby, 5 quarterback hits, 12 total quarterback pressures, also had a batted pass. And he's been flashing for a while now. I think it's going to take a while for him to get the respect. Maybe now he's getting it because that's what happens when you go to Eastern Michigan and you're a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to believe what we see, and some of it could be scheme. You never know, like players around you. But like, has Maxx Crosby been doing this long enough where we're like, yeah, he's one of the, if not, top 5 guys at his position? No.
He's up there.
You're not quite ready yet.
I'd have to think about it a little bit. I'd have to think. Right off the top of my head, I don't want to go top 5, but I want to say top 10, yes.
But we've always said, he's not quite as good as his numbers may indicate.
Right.
Is he getting closer to being as good as his number indicate?
Yeah, I think so. I think he is. Yes. When I watch him, I don't sit there and go this was some schemed up. He got the pressure because it was a great blitz and they found him. No, he's beating people with his pure physical ability and the run game. He's a handful to go along with that. So, yeah, and listen, they're a well-coached defense, and he's playing a position where, hey, it's a perfect scheme for him. They don't make him think about a whole lot. They go get out wide and just meet the quarterback 7 yards in the backfield. Take that angle, go there like a bat out of hell, and then, of course, he tries to read the run off of that. But, yes, definitely one of the better defensive linemen in all football. I got no problem with saying that.
Tripod 2X says Mad Maxx Crosby for his damn okay, and that Raiders defense slapping Teddy Bridgewater around, who had 4 turnovers in the game, unlike Teddy. He goes damn okay. Also, how different of a game did Greg Olsen call from what Gruden normally does?
Well, no, I can't say that I saw a whole lot of difference there. I still think I saw Gruden's imprint in his offense. Olsen's offense is Gruden's offense. What I did wonder was just, hey, would they miss a little bit of a creative element? Because Gruden is creative. He's the mad scientist. He'll come up with some stuff where you go, wow, that's a cool play. I like what they did. But there was no slippage with the offense from the get-go, really. I mean, that was one of the first things I wrote down as I was sitting there watching the game. I went, Raiders offense doing really well, not missing Gruden. I mean, so there was that. I think that was impressive. Listen, they had answers, and they always do, for everything Denver threw at them all day. Denver got impatient, and now they start to blitz. Okay, we got lots of answers to beat the blitz. And then, the Henry Ruggs post over the top. I think both were against blitz looks from the Denver defense. But really big win for them in an adversity-filled week. And was happy for Rich Bisaccia and the rest of the crew there, definitely. And Josh Jacobs looked like he's close to 100%. So Raiders aren't out of this thing yet.
Yeah, and there were a lot of big plays on the offensive side. Once again,
lot.
It was like we criticized Derek Carr, or you did specifically, on some checkdowns in the past, and that's some of that is Gruden's offense, short passing game.
Right.
But first drive going deep on the touchdown, 3 huge plays in the final minute before halftime, and then a long screen to Jacobs.
Right. The beautiful
pass
to Kenyon Drake to make it 17-7.
Ryan Edwards won mid-4th quarter where they just threw it up down in the middle of the field.
Right.
So there were a lot, and Ruggs in the middle of the field too. So there's a lot of big play potential on this Raiders offensive side, but if the defense can play as well as they did last game and force the turnovers, they're going to be in the mix at the end of the season. We think the Bengals might be in the mix too.
Yeah. No doubt.
Defeating the Lions 34-11. And it kind of another guy, kind of like Maxx Crosby, where you're like, all right, his numbers are really good. How good is he really? I think we said the same thing about Trey Hendrickson last year with New Orleans, right? When he was with New Orleans.
Right.
He gets our damn okay for this one. A sack, 2 quarterback hits, 5 total quarterback pressures, and 2 tackles in a dominant win for Cincinnati.
Yeah, dominant. I mean, it really was. It was the first game all year where you went, Detroit's got no chance. Every other game we've kind of been like, oh, they're hanging with them. Ball bounces here, they make a play here, they might be able to win this football game. That was not going to happen in this one. Again, it's Cincinnati's a big play offense, really, for the most part. They rely on the big plays, as we saw again yesterday. I mean, it was the same thing the week before. There was no drives against the Packers. It was like 3 big plays that gave them 3 touchdowns to give them 21 points. And, between... Oh, you got a linebacker one-on-one with Chris Evans. outside. Okay, we're going to throw a go route. He's just going to be faster than your 245-pound linebacker. They look for that type of, mismatches, and then you get Joe Mixon on a 4th and short, wide open in the flat, and now he's running down the sidelines. Like, Cincinnati's not going anywhere, anybody. Just stop. This is, I said this on Peacock last night with our, get used to this. They're not, going to fall off, and we're going to be sitting here going, they're 4-10. They've lost 8 in a row. No. Offensive line is solid enough. And then with the weapons and the way Burrow plays the game, and the defensive line's got 2 big D tackles in the middle, like you're talking about with Hendrickson. He's always got a few plays every game where he's around the quarterback, harassing the quarterback. And then you've heard me talk about their secondary. No, I don't think they're going anywhere. And as long as you play Jamar Chase one-on-one, watch out, because as we saw again yesterday, they're going to go deep to him.
He leads the NFL with 7 catches on throws of 20 or more air yards down the field, had 2 in this game. He is a big play target for Joe Burrow, and they did carve up the Lions, and Dan Campbell called out Jared Goff at the end of the game a little bit.
He should. I mean, Jared Goff's got to do, again, I'm not trying to ask anybody of, don't do anything you're not capable of. But see, this is when you're making $34 million a year, the team expects you to make a play every now and then. You got to get us out of a bad moment. It's 3rd down, make a play, make a great throw. It's just never that. It's like, I used to call it silver platter throws with McVay. What everybody, Jared Goff's really good. And I want to be like, the guy was open by 50 yards, and my 10-year-old could have thrown that ball in there. So there's being a great quarterback in football is like what we saw from Joe Burrow or other quarterbacks yesterday. Oh, it's a tight coverage, or it's a deep pass, it's one-on-one, boom, it's on the money. You only get so many of those opportunities, and Goff just doesn't come through with those nearly enough. It's always system-related for the most part, and that's what's frustrating. I think that's what Dan Campbell's talking about. Are you ever going to make a play that sparks us, gets us going? Hey, we're down 10-0 or 17-0. It's time for somebody to do something off schedule, make a play, and that's where he doesn't deliver that way, and that's where I'm sure they're frustrated by that.
The Lions used to have a guy like that. He
wasn't good enough.
His name was Matt Stafford, and
wasn't good enough.
That's where we start with Gimme the Headlines, presented by Hyundai. It is the old Lions quarterback, the new Rams quarterback, who makes things look so easy, and did yesterday against the Giants. Blew them out 38-11, and I'll argue it wasn't even that close.
No.
What is the headline for that game?
Greatest show on surf. Ahmed Fareed special right there, Hyundai.
Give me credit.
That was very well done by you.
It was the first time that they had scored 28 points in a quarter since 2002.
Right.
The year of the greatest show on turf.
Yeah,
correct?
Right. The era of the greatest show on turf.
The greatest show on turf. And now they've moved out west. They're in L.A. Greatest show on surf. I feel like that could catch on.
Listen, I like that. Greatest show on surf.
Use it. I'll give you license.
You'll give me a license? Okay. But, we might be able to get that to catch on out in L.A. and make it a thing, certainly.
Yeah. Did we see the Stafford and Cooper Kupp numbers there, Kristen? I didn't.
It's unbelievable.
They just continue to hook up. They scheme for it. You were in the weeds with Under Armour on the Peacock show, pointing out how they get the ball to Cooper Kupp, and they get it in his hands. They obviously see him as an elite playmaker, and he's proven it so far this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, first off, he's a phenomenal football player. He's bigger and faster than people realize. If you saw him in person, you'd go, damn, Cooper Kupp's kind of big and rocked up. I didn't realize that. And then, he can do everything. So, he can be the system guy that can, read the coverage, and you can depend on him to be on the same page as the quarterback. But if it's just man-to-man coverage, he can beat his guy, plain and simple. They got him matched on Jabril Peppers a few times early in the game where it's just there's no way. Jabril Peppers can't cover him. That's not going to happen. But they're the most under-the-radar 5-1 football team, as we were talking about before. I mean, it's 2 quarters of not playing good against the Arizona Cardinals, and the rest of the year, they've outplayed everybody they've been against, period, in almost every quarter of the game. And that's not a bunch of crappy teams either. It's been some solid competition. And once they get it going on the offensive side of the ball, they just got too many weapons. They're too creative on the offensive side of the ball. And like you've always heard me say, McVay will stay patient with the run game, too, to not let you off the hook that way. And, was it 3-0 Giants, right? They stop the Rams. They get the ball, and they go down the field, and they're a little past midfield, and they go for a 4th and 1. Okay, and they're on their own 41, and I don't know. That's one where I love the way like Joe Judge. He's to me a pretty good game manager, but you're up 3-0. You're on your own 41. You're not exactly the greatest show on turf on the offensive side of the on football. That would be one where I'd go, I don't know about that. Let's just punt the ball and put the Rams back in their own territory.
Maybe he knew he was going to have to score 40 points to win this game.
Maybe he did, and it worked out there. They ended up punting the ball away. Yeah. So that didn't matter. My point there, I guess, is what I was saying. I was confused with my drives here.
So it didn't even matter.
It did not even matter.
Joe Judge is like, see? I told you.
Chris, you're right. So Chris was wrong. I'm self-scouting myself on the go here.
With it midpoint, you just self-scouted yourself.
But after that, it was like over. It really was. It was big passes to Cooper Kupp. They had Higbee going. And let me read my notes here. I
think the Rams are. I think it's interesting you say like the Rams are under the radar, and I think you're right because we gave them so much love coming into the year. We talked about how good they were going to be with Matt Stafford. It's like we're already over that. It's like not surprising like the Arizona Cardinals or anything else. It's kind of like, this is what we thought they'd be, and they're dominant.
I didn't even think they would be this good this early.
Really?
I did not. I am surprised with how well the offense has just taken off. And, I'm flustered because I messed up my little flow of the game there either way.
Pete will edit that out.
No, I don't care.
If you're hearing this right now, Pete did not edit that out.
I don't care. I can't.
No,
keep
I'm just kidding. Don't edit that out, Pete and Chris.
But my point is we
got to show that Chris is fallible.
I don't care. I am fallible. I can't keep track of every game and every aspect of the game always. But you get 7-0, and where they're crazy too is then they have a strip sack fumble. Daniel Jones has a horrible interception. And you just can't do that against the Rams. I mean, you're down in the red area there. I mean, what did they get? A 4-play 12-yard or four-play 12-yard drive for a touchdown, and then a 4-play 14-yard drive for a touchdown. You're up 21-3. That's night against that team because now they know you got to throw the ball, and that's the way they want to play. Oh, Floyd and Donald get the pass rush and go crazy that way. And there's just no pressure on the offense, and they can let it loose, and they took advantage of all after that.
So blowout there, Rams beat the Giants. A blowout by
worst play of the Giants worst game of the year by the Giants.
That was
for
bad.
Sure.
That
offense was horrible. Everything was bad.
Texans were not much better than the Giants. Maybe they were worse. They lose to the Colts, 31-3. Your headline on this game, Chris?
Tailor-made. Okay? Tailor-made.
Yes.
My man, Jonathan Taylor.
SD Davidson 3 says, can I get a damn okay for Jonathan Taylor? No, you cannot, but we'll give him a Hyundai headline.
We'll give him a Hyundai headline.
If he keeps running this way, would you consider the Colts the team to beat in the AFC South now?
Yeah, they're getting close to that. I mean, they're. I will say this with the Colts, like they're clearly a 2-4 football team, the best 2-4 football team in the league. That's what I'll tell you for sure. Should be 3-3. Blew that damn game last week against the Baltimore Ravens, where they outplayed them. They did, but credit to the Ravens for pulling it out. I mean, the big thing is, hey, the way they are running the football, Jonathan Taylor is special. I mean, he really is, as you see. I mean, he can break some huge plays. He can run with some pretty good power, in between the box too. But that was like the theme of the day, was just big plays in general. The game started off by not Jonathan Taylor running the ball all that well. It started off by, let's give the guy some credit, Carson Wentz. I mean, the big little post, he threw a big post corner for a 51-yard touchdown pass against Paris Campbell. He had another big pass down the middle to T.Y. Hilton early on. I mean, that was the thing to me that jumped out more than anything.
Yeah.
A beautiful touchdown pass on a corner route to Mo Alley Cox to give them a 17-3 lead off of, I believe it was a Texans turnover, Davis Mills interception at that point. So, yes, the Colts are a team like you go, of all the teams who are below 500, who are you looking at to say the most dangerous? Defense is top 10-ish.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Offense, not even fully healthy on the offensive line. I'd say watch out. And if they can keep Paris Hilton or T.Y. Hilton healthy. Paris Hilton. If they can keep either one of those guys. If they can
get her to show up to some games, get that crowd pumped up.
Yes. If they could do that, they it changes their football team.
Yeah.
Because they are a deep threat that can kind of stretch out a defense to a degree.
Yeah. That's a couple big errors by you. Getting the Giants.
Damn. You know what?
The field, and then throwing Paris Hilton into a discussion here.
Paris,
you're falling apart.
No,
You're late. It was working too late
so
on Peacock.
far, if I'm self-scouting myself, I'm disappointed in my Browns-Cardinals breakdown.
Oh, geez.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's.
And I'm disappointed in my. I just don't like how I articulated it. And yes, I lost my. See, I got notes here from the game, and I don't know why I didn't follow them because I have written down that they didn't score after that 4th and 1.
Should have crossed it out then, and then it's okay. Hey, Pete says come back Wednesday. Brush this one off. Come back Wednesday with some ammunition. I'm looking at all the teams under 500 because you said that they're the best 2 and 4 team. Let's see if they're the best under 500 team because you do have the 49ers who are 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking them over them right now.
Over Seattle.
Yeah, definitely.
Over Atlanta.
Yeah.
Over Detroit.
Yeah.
Over the Giants. Over Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Over Washington.
Yep.
Over Jacksonville, Houston.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking them over the Pats too.
Over the Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins.
No, I mean, to me, it's them
they're
and the 49ers are the 2 teams that I look at that are like
under 500.
Under 500, and they're playing each other this week on Sunday Night
Football.
Football.
We'll get to decide it. Who's the best under 500
they
team
match
in
up well with them, too. I mean, that's going to be an interesting matchup. That's going to be a huge game for both teams.
Last game to talk about.
Yeah.
The one over in London. Jaguars. They finally got a win. Break their losing streak, beating the Dolphins 23-20.
Get right over the pond.
Okay.
You sound like you're from London.
Hello.
Hello, Governor.
Matthew Wright, the first kicker in NFL history to make multiple field goals of 50-plus yards in the last 4 minutes of fourth quarter in a single game. And coming into the game, Jaguars had not made a single field goal. Then they made 2 50-plus yarders there in the final minutes to win the game against the Dolphins. I don't know what's a bigger story here. Jacksonville finally getting a win, Trevor Lawrence's first win as a quarterback in the NFL, or the fall of the Miami Dolphins here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a team that people thought were knocking on the door of the playoffs. They're 1-5, just lost to Jacksonville.
No doubt. I mean, listen, to me, the story of the game is really the first half of the football game where the Dolphins absolutely dominated the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, dominated. And they went in 13-10. 13-10. I mean, they blew so many opportunities, to score points, kind of put Jacksonville away, put them in a bad spot, and they let them hang around. As we know in the NFL, we see this all the time. Like, you just let a team hang around, it gets dicey after that. It does. Tua, I thought, played well for the most part on that side of the ball. I mean, he really did. I know he had a really bad interception, definitely, but I thought he energized their offense, and as good as their offense has looked in the last few weeks.
They put the game on his left arm, 47 attempts in his first game back.
They have to. They have no run game to speak of. They don't.
They needed it at the end of the game.
Well, that's where I was a little surprised they even did it. Just the fact that, you've not really done anything all day running the football. But I again, desperate teams do desperate things, I guess.
I mean, Jacksonville has not had a good run defense up to this point, so that's even worse for Miami.
No, but Miami's offense is the downfall of their football team. Again, you've heard me say, I think, a few times this year already, the defense is not all that bad. It's just they're put in a lot of tough positions all the time. But Jacksonville had nothing going early on in the football game and finally figures out, again, it's NFL football. As the game goes along and they realize how they're getting attacked, they start to realize what they want to do to answer to that attack, and they kind of found their rhythm and made a few plays and pulled off a football game that really they were outplayed but won the football game.
Yeah, they made mistakes.
Key moments.
Yeah, they made mistakes.
Yeah.
62 on the nose says, "Hi, Chris. I was at the Wanker Bowl yesterday." I didn't know the Wanker Bowl. Hard to believe the Jags got a result, but well done. Does this break the curse? Has it saved Urban Meyer? What do you think where do they go from here?
I don't know if it's saved Urban Meyer. It's great that they got the win,
Yeah.
and I think that's, from what I hear from people in the NFL, I still think it's 50-50. I do. I think he's...
does he finish the year with them?
I still think I don't know if he's going to finish the week from anybody you listen to in the know. It's not 100% that way. I think there was some real, discomfort by ownership and the fact that how that went down after that Thursday night game against Cincinnati. And the biggest thing you'll hear is that he lied to ownership. He lied to them. That's the biggest thing, right? And that's where his story didn't match up with the events and everything. And they, I don't know, somehow, some way know that he didn't tell the truth there. And that's never going to go over well when you lie to your bosses, as we know.
Like he didn't tell them that he was going to a bar to.
I guess there was a certain
grinding?
aspects of that story that did not match up, and that's where it did hurt them.
I did think it was interesting that when in the video that we saw, you showed it on your Peacock show at the end of after the game was over, they gave the game ball to Trevor Lawrence. It wasn't Urban Meyer. He wasn't anywhere to be seen.
Yeah.
It was Marvin Jones that was giving the speach and giving the ball to Trevor Lawrence.
I thought that was weird too. I'm with you. I didn't even see Urban Meyer anywhere at all there. Like still some blunders. Like Jags up 17-13. 4th and 2 on the 7-yard line. Kick the fucking field goal and go up a touchdown.
Yeah, that was
go
strange.
up 20-13.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Right.
That to me made no sense at that moment of the football game. And then guess what happened? The Dolphins drove down for a 91-yard touchdown and we're up by 3.
Yeah.
That's not knowing who you are. And I don't understand. Listen, I guess I'm old school still. I'm not always like, let's go for the jugular right now. There's a little too much of that goes on in the NFL. I understand, and I'm sure the numbers say that to a degree. But I don't know. The numbers for Jacksonville got to be different than some of the better teams in football. And if I'm him in that moment, I certainly play that a different way. But either way, it worked out, and thank God it did because of our kicker, Matthew Wright, and Trevor Lawrence's awesome play call at the end of the football game. Instead of throwing the Hail Mary with 6 seconds left, they throw that quick inside slant and still have 1 second left, get 6-7 yards there, and get to kick a field goal. To me, that was like maybe the play of the day in the NFL, the fact that how that shook out.
Jacksonville finally won. Have not won in America, though, in quite some time.
No,
and
they
that
have
is
not.
Give Me the Headlines, presented by Hyundai. And now, final minutes of the show. We have a quick update in the Ahmed Fareed, Trevor Lawrence, no wait, Spencer Rattler, no wait, Sam Howell, no wait, Matt Corral, no wait, something Thibodeau, power rankings.
Yes.
We don't know who's going to be the first pick.
No,
There's not
we
a
don't.
clear-cut first pick
Definitely
guy.
not.
Doesn't look like a great quarterback
Definitely
so
not.
far. Maybe that'll change.
We'll see.
But who's in a good spot to get the number 1 pick? Number 5 team for me is going to be the Miami Dolphins. They're charging hard. They're making a play for a top pick, which they've had a few top picks here lately with some trades they've made. Hasn't helped them up to this point, so they're number 5 for
I
me.
would not be shocked if they abort mission here on this season at some point just to interrupt your thing.
Sure.
And now you have nothing to lose by making the trade for Deshaun Watson or doing something of that nature. And we know they want them. I just wonder now that they're 1-5, they might look at it and go, you know what? Doesn't look like we're going to make the playoffs. Let's start thinking about the future. Be interesting to see as we go forward.
Well, and Pete notes that they don't even own their pick as of right now. The Eagles own their first-round pick.
Right, but they have the 49ers pick.
And so
then they have the 49ers pick, and then they have, I think, 2 first-round picks in next year's draft.
And who knows? Maybe they could trade someone to the Eagles for their pick back.
They still have 3 first-round picks, I believe, in the next 2 years.
Number 4 for me is Houston. Showed some good promise last week with a complete clunker, so they're 4th. Jets are 3rd right now, 3rd most likely to get the number 1 pick in my eyes.
They would love to get a Thibodeau from Oregon. That would be perfect for their defensive scheme,
the
right?
defensive side.
Yeah.
Number 2 are the Giants. They showed a lot. Rams, it's a tough contest, but the way that they didn't even show up shows a lot of promise for them getting the number 1 pick. But my number 1 team is my Detroit Lions right now. This is why, because
home is where the heart is.
They've weathered the storm up to this point.
Yeah.
There were some near wins.
Yeah.
They've averted disaster.
Yeah.
They did not win any of those games, luckily.
Right.
So now they're in a position. I looked at their schedule coming up. I was like, I honestly could see them becoming the first team in NFL history to lose all 17 regular season games.
I hope not.
I hope not too, but I've seen this before with the Lions.
Yes.
I've seen this before where it's like early on in the season, it's like, wow, they're
competitive
in games,
and they're playing tough.
and then you lose your will to compete.
Exactly right. And I think that's what might happen. I'm with you there. Rams and Eagles next few weeks. Listen, they can maybe beat the Eagles.
Okay.
They can. It's going to be ugly, but as you saw from the Eagles, they're offensively challenged in a lot of ways. They are. So that's going to be interesting to see. They got the Bears November 25th, Thanksgiving weekend. Those are the teams you got to look at. Teams that are not overwhelmingly good on offense to maybe where we can win a 20-17 type game. Because I don't think your first win is going to be like in a 35-31 shootout or anything like that. I think it's going to have to be that way. Eagles, Bears, they look like that. Falcons, maybe. Maybe they can catch them. But, yes, I'm a little worried about your Detroit Lions.
2008, the Lions were the first team to go 0-16. Lost to the Vikings on a last-second field goal in Week 5.
Yeah.
Lost to the Vikings on a last-second field goal this year as well. So, maybe. Hey, maybe it's in the stars for them. Who knows? Maybe they'll get a win and ruin everything, but we'll see. So Lions number 1 right now. Before we go, Monday night, Buffalo, Titans. How badly do you have the Bills beating Tennessee today?
Convincingly. I know that. And not that my picks were 100% this week. But, yeah, I worry about the Titans' defense. I went Bills 34-24. That was my pick.
Okay.
But, yeah, the Titans, of course, we know it's a run-first offense. It's more run-game-centric than it has been in years past. They're not as good in the pass game. And I know A.J. Brown and Julio have not been 100%. So I don't know what to expect from that aspect of their offense yet, especially the way the Bills' defense is playing. And the Titans they give up too many big plays on the defensive side of the ball. And I think, of course, Buffalo's dangerous with Josh Allen, and that's where I just think it's going to be a little scary tonight for the Tennessee Titans. I do expect the Buffalo Bills to win this football game.
All right, so that's Monday. That's tonight. Maybe you're watching it as you listen to this podcast. Chris, we're done.
We're done.
I think overall, on balance, a good podcast. You gave good information.
Solid.
Don't let that Giants breakdown bug you.
You know what? I get overwhelmed with – I honestly get – too in the freaking weeds at times, and I worry about
presented by Under
Armour, and I gotta just go let's go with general themes of the game and not try to get so much into the nitty gritty because you're not going to remember what happened.
It's
in
a
13
balance.
games.
People like that. I mean, the nitty gritty is good, right? Because you don't get that
Hopefully
everywhere.
my flubs weren't bad flubs. Like they didn't take away from the big aspect of the game. Just maybe some things messed up there.
So if you've made it to this part of the podcast, give Chris a tweet at
Grade my performance.
QB. No, if they've made it here, that means that it wasn't bad enough. It wasn't bad enough to stop listening. So if you've made it this far, give Chris a good complimentary tweet.
Thank you.
Tell him to keep his chin up. It was a good pod.
Thanks a lot. You the man, Ahmed.
If you get no tweets, that's a problem.
No,
so we'll
it's
see.
a big problem. You know what I'm going to be doing the rest of the day. Tomorrow, I'm going to be watching film. Any plays, certain aspects of games you want me to break down. Would love to do that, of course. That's what we're going to do for the What the Happened Wednesday podcast. Are you here Wednesday, or is that a Pauly B special? Pauly B? All right.
Pauly B.
I'll miss you nonetheless.
Okay.
Fellow 300 soldier.
300.
Okay? You the man,
We
Ahmed.
are Sparta.
Check us out on Wednesday. Thank you, Under Armour, for sponsoring the podcast. Peace out. We'll see you Wednesday. Clap it up.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.